With the Knicks in turmoil consistently failing to attract any big names, back in 2019, Kevin Durant would say that, "I didn't grow up with the Knicks being good. Well, I remember the Knicks being in the finals, but the kids after me, they didn't see that. So the brand of the Knicks isn't as cool to them as, say, the Golden State Warriors, or even the Lakers, or the Nets now. The cool thing right now is not the Knicks." I'm just going to say that it's crazy how much has changed since then. Not only are the Knicks now cool and out of turmoil, but thanks to their most recent trade that sent Julius Randle to the Minnesota Timberwolves, they're now one of the favorites to win the NBA title. Which, you still have to feel terrible for Julius Randle and the instant reaction surrounding this trade. But before we go any further, we are closing in on 300,000 subscribers. If you are a new viewer or a regular viewer and enjoying the content and aren't subscribed, be sure to do so and hit that bell so that you don't miss an upload. Now, for a word from today's sponsor. If you're like me and your fantasy football team isn't doing so well, or if you just want to hop in and have some fun with some more fantasy action, check out Underdog, the best way to play daily fantasy. With Underdog, you just decide if your favorite players are going to have more or less than a certain projection for a chance to win up to 1,000 times your money. When you sign up, be sure to use my code COOP, because with code COOP, you can get up to $1,000 in bonus cash along with a free pick. And it's also a great way to support the channel. Thank you, Underdog, for the sponsor. When Julius Randle came to the mega market that is New York back in 2019, it wasn't necessarily the cool thing to do. But in New York, Julius Randle would find a home. And if you ask me, that's the coolest thing ever. Since his initial arrival in New York, he would be everything that the Knicks could have asked for. His fire would burn too bright at times and things would get heated, but all of that comes with the territory. With what he's done for this franchise, you definitely take the good with the bad. Since arriving in New York, Randle has been a 3-time All-Star, a 2-time All-NBA player, and the Knicks have made the playoffs 3 times. Before his arrival, they hadn't made the playoffs since the 2012-2013 season. It might not feel like it, but 2013 was a minute ago. Julius Randle is very appreciated in New York, but while those contributions were great, everybody knew that Julius Randle's time in New York was coming to an end, and that it wasn't a matter of if he would get traded. With the team re-signing OG Anunoby and acquiring Mikal Bridges, it was more so a matter of when he would get traded. Even Randle himself knew that something was coming. September 6th, he'd post a picture of there literally being no Julius Randle jerseys for sale at the team's home arena, Madison Square Garden. The caption here would be, "Word, this is how y'all feel?" Shortly after that post, he'd post that the truth shall come to light. It would only be weeks later that we'd get news that a trade would be happening that would send Karl-Anthony Towns to the New York Knicks for Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, and the 1st-round pick.
You can't keep getting away with it!
My initial reaction was, what in the world just hit my phone? Something like this almost seems unfair, which, mind you, that all of this was only possible because the Knicks' best player, Jalen Brunson, took a $113 million discount so that this team could load up on talent and build the perfect, most overpowered NBA roster. And as you can tell, they did. The Knicks' current starting lineup is ridiculous. The Knicks can currently start Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, and Karl-Anthony Towns. That just doesn't seem right. While a lineup like this can sound ideal on paper, there has just been a tiny problem with the Knicks acquiring Cat. And that's the fact that this man did not want to leave Minnesota. Immediately before it was announced that this trade would be happening, Karl-Anthony Towns posted this to his social media. He posted 3 periods. And what's crazy to me is the fact that this post is still up. I understand that he poured everything that he had into Minnesota, but still, I was surprised to see him be so public about his shock. I mean, the trade already happened. While I understand that something like this hurts when you've never even come close to requesting a trade, and something like this is so much easier to talk about than to deal with, at the same time, I know that publicly displaying how surprised you are isn't exactly helping your current situation at all. It's not exactly great that you're having this reaction, and while you're doing so, it's coming out that your camp is stunned about you being traded to New York. But again, while it's not the best reaction to being traded, my heart does still hurt for Cat, who's been through so much in Minnesota, and I have no idea how I'd react to being blindsided by some news like this being him. So at the same time, while it does not matter at all, I am willing to give him the benefit of the doubt here. With him already being seen cheesing in Knicks gear, while he might have not wanted to get traded, it's still clear that he's going to embrace his new home no matter what. That's just the type of guy that Cat is. So, emotions aside, I love this trade for New York. A starting lineup of Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, and Karl-Anthony Towns seems like something you should only be able to do on 2K. That lineup is incredibly versatile and dynamic on both sides of the basketball. Look, I know that Cat might not be the ideal Thibs player and has had problems with Thibs in the past, but let's give the guy who gave Jokic problems in last year's playoffs the benefit of the doubt here. I don't regret to inform you guys that this current Cat isn't the same one that Jimmy Butler left in Minnesota. According to Cat, him and Thibs squashed their beef years ago with both of them getting together and having a conversation, which you have to believe if Thibs signed off on this move. There's a whole lot to like about this move, and one of the small things about this move that I've loved the most is that the Knicks still have Mitchell Robinson on their roster. Mitch might not have anywhere near the IQ of a Gobert, but as far as raw talent goes, on occasion he can replicate some of the things that Gobert does well. He's athletic, long, and a threat to send any shot back to where it came from, averaging 1.9 blocks a game in just 24.5 minutes for his entire career. Mitch might be working through an injury right now, but there's no doubt in my mind that a healthy Mitch helps this team. Having Mitch on the roster gives the Knicks another option to play big with and be imposing just like the Wolves were. But it appears that there's a chance that Mitchell Robinson might be leaving, because after the Karl-Anthony Towns trade went down, he posted this to his IG story. Not really a big deal, right? Well, it would come out that the Knicks are in fact taking calls on Mitchell Robinson. If I'm Brunson, I'm checking in with the front office just so I could see if I'm good for the foreseeable future for no other reason than just to do so, because it's clear that these Knicks mean business and I don't blame them. They've been presented with a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, with a player of Brunson's caliber taking the pay cut that he did, and they are looking to maximize it. And don't sleep on Brunson, because this guy averaged 32.4 points, 7.5 assists, and 3.3 rebounds as an injured Knicks team attempted to make a push for the conference finals. And for those of you who are doubting or sleeping on Cat, do me a favor and don't do that either. Just enjoy one of the greatest shooting bigs of all time coming to New York. To put into perspective how special of a shooter and player that Cat is, per NBA.com, he's the only player in NBA history to have shot 55% or better on at least 2,000 two-point attempts and 38% or better on at least 1,000 three-point attempts. He's also the only player to have 100 three-point makes, 100 blocks, and 1,000 rebounds in a single season. And he's done it twice. Now, as much as I love Cat coming to the Big Apple, losing DiVincenzo was a blow. But I do understand that opportunity costs. There were reports that DiVincenzo wasn't thrilled about coming off the bench with a reduced role this season, but it appears that those reports are false and that the Knicks just did what they had to in order to bring Cat to town. It'll be interesting to see how DiVincenzo does in Minnesota, but we'll deep dive the Minnesota part of this trade soon, So be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so that you don't miss it. Like I said, Knicks fans, enjoy Cat, because if it were up to me and my Pelicans would be enjoying him and all of that spacing that he's going to be providing. I just feel like we really could have outdone that offer with one that had Brandon Ingram in it, but that's a topic for another video. Anyways guys, there's some more going on in the NBA that I need to be covering. Clicking the video on the screen right now and using code COOP for Underdog Fantasy are great ways to support this channel. I'm GetLikeCoop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.